down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Hey, you tuned in to the Savvy Radio Show. Man, I am super excited that you came back. Hopefully, this is not your first episode. This is an intro because I did this podcast. It's an hour long, and I just want to give you a heads up. It is kind of a rough podcast. I'm trying to work on my polarization, and I just want to set up this podcast for you. If you're the first time listening to this podcast, you may never come back, and I don't want that to happen to you because my goal is to inspire you, to educate you, to help you, move you forward in the game of life and in business and real estate and also entrepreneur and investor. That's the goal. And so I've been working on my polarization. So when I recorded this podcast with a wonderful friend of mine, I just dropped all of my guard and didn't even think about what I was saying. Long story short, I went back, and I very rarely go back and listen to a podcast, but I knew there was something wrong because I cursed a couple of times. And I'm like, man, I don't usually curse. And there's a lot of things that I said that I was embarrassed to say. And so I had a friend listen to this podcast, and he's like, Steven, some people may not understand you, your heart and your goal, but man, you give so much information. And that's true. All right. I mean, I'm honored, and I want to drop as much information and help you. But if you may be offended with this podcast, and I don't want that to happen. And so I struggle with taking this down or keeping it going. And then I just realized I just need to do this intro and let you know and give you some heads up. Number one, it is polarizing. You may hate me through this podcast, and I apologize. That's not my goal. That's not what I'm trying to do. If you're a female, I said the word chick in there, and a drafter, I paid $500 for this chick in an office. I mean, that just sounds derogatory. That's no offense. I'm trying, my mind moves so fast. There's no excuse. I'm trying to get as much information out as possible. I love females. I know if you're a female and this is your first podcast, I'm embarrassed if my wife heard this. I wonder what she would think. And I just want to give you a heads up on that. I also talk a lot about Dave Torres. Like, who is that guy? He's a wonderful investor and a friend of mine, and you may not know him. And he's a guy that I've been working with for a long time. I'm honored to be a part of his life and his growth. And he's just an amazing person. And we just spent a lot of time together. Again, I just want to give you a heads up. I just dropped my guard. I didn't consciously think of anything that I said. One thing is I talk about, I'm in the middle of teaching this class, and I said the word test dummies. And when I heard that later, I was like, man, my friends that are in this class, they paid this great amount of money, and I'm calling them a test dummy. Again, another polarizing comment. And then my final one is like, if you don't know me and you don't know where I'm at, and you're like, this cocky dude, this cocky guy, hey, I sound real cocky on this. I sound arrogant, and I'm like, man, I wouldn't want to be this dude's friend at all. And so I just want to give you a heads up. Hey, take it with a grain of salt. If you enjoy this podcast, if it's encouraged you, I had a really good friend listen to the podcast, and he enjoyed it. I had another friend, is it really worth the pain? And so this is why I put this primer on here. I hope this inspires you, encourages you, and you continue to listen to the podcast. If you go back to the beginning, probably the 100 podcasts, there's a lot of polarization there. But I appreciate you listening. I appreciate your encouragement. I appreciate my homie that just encouraged me that, you're just out there helping people, and some people may not receive it properly. And I hope that you would have an open mind when you listen to this podcast. I do talk fast. There's a lot of information going on. If there's something I need to clarify, my math is wrong on a couple of things, whatever I can do to encourage you or clarify something, let me know. I had someone text me the other day, and I clarified a comment. Anyway, hopefully you're doing great. Enjoy this podcast. Lee Smith in Indiana, Google him up. He's a wonderful guy. He's trying to get into commercial. He's already in. He wants to grow. He would love to have another person in his world to encourage him as well. Have a beautiful day, and thanks for listening. The Savvy Radio Show, savvyinvestors.com. Enjoy.
If you have not heard of Lee Smith in Indiana, go onto my webpage, Savvy Investors, and just type in the name Lee Smith. All of his podcasts will come up. He is a grinder, a wonderful friend, a loyal friend. I've seen him sacrifice his life for his family, for other investors that I know that were crying on the phone, and Lee Smith would console them and, and serve them when business partnerships fail and crumble. And then he's on my team, hanging out with me and just curious to see where my life has taken me in transition. And he had some commercial questions. And I was like, Lee, I miss you. Let's just kill two birds with one stone. Let's do a podcast. So we have no agenda but friendship and growth. So please welcome Lee Smith. Spouses, what is it called again? It's been so long.
Oh my gosh, are you really? Spouses buying houses? Yeah. So, I mean, I guess for people that might not know, I own a property management company here in Indianapolis, Indiana. We primarily deal in low income rentals. We manage about 300 rentals. And just the market is changing. We are seeing stuff. I mean, Indiana doesn't change price wise, and we're just seeing drastic changes. I mean, in the 90s, when I first started investing in real estate, houses were going for $60,000 on the east side of Indianapolis, and up until 2 years ago, houses were going for still $60,000 in that same area. They just were not appreciating. And now those same houses 2 years later are $100,000, $120,000, $130,000. So we're just seeing drastic changes, and that segment of the market, those renters, are not seeing the pay increases to pay for the increased rent. You know, I mean, and really, we've not been able to increase rent. You know, it's only gone up $50 or $100 a month, and you know, now that may be coming down the pipe as far as, you know, you're seeing McDonald's is offering $15 an hour starting, $18 an hour starting, and bonuses. I saw this morning that Target, I think it's Target, is going to start paying their people $25 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna see, you know, I think people are gonna have to switch jobs and to see those pay increases. But you know, again, it's a pretty crazy market right now. We're also seeing a lot of government intervention. I mean, we saw a lot of that going on during with the eviction moratoriums and stuff like that. We're also seeing, I mean, I'm in the Midwest. We don't freaking change, right? I mean, we used to be able to do an eviction in 21 days, but now it's taken 6 to 8 weeks to do an eviction. And our Indiana state government came through with some legislation that's right now it is not mandatory. It's optional, but a couple of counties in Indiana are making it mandatory, and it will stretch an eviction out an extra 90 days. And so anyway, so long story short, or long story long, I've been thinking about getting more into commercial. We're still going to do our residential stuff, but we're thinking about getting more into commercial. And so I actually bought a commercial building last year, made some pretty decent mistakes, but I'm going to be okay on the deal. And so, but I'm just I'm thinking about, I sold a majority of my own personal rentals over the past 2 years because I didn't think this market would last, but now I'm thinking differently. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up and what I want to invest in.
Well,
so,
you dropped a bunch of nuggets there. So let's address those first, and then we'll get into it. Because like you have like 6 points. So let me just give you some confirmation. First of all, you're throwing out amazing stuff, and let me just give you some confirmation. Number one, the market. Okay, Oklahoma is similar to yours. I was talking to my property manager yesterday. She's so anal detailed that her groceries have not changed in 11 years. I'm not joking. She has got dialed down to the dollar. She told me that this first time in 11 years that her groceries has increased 20%. Number two, our market is exactly like yours. Ours is up 30%. I don't believe it. I feel bad that I even sold houses because it's just going, it's like this runaway stock, right? It's like, oh my gosh, why did I sell? I still have faith. I think it will come down, but our rents are houses that I would just recently just purchased a house for 85,000. I'd be happy with 1,000 or 1,100. It's in a medial grade neighborhood. I'm renting it out for 1,300. It scares me. That's why Target and them are increasing, because this reason is competitive. So I'm a part owner in an accounting firm, and we are competing with those people. All right. So we pay 25 bucks an hour for a junior bookkeeper, let's say, and why would they work a data entry job when they can just go walk around Target all day and get a 10%? I don't know. Right. So
Right.
it is, we have competition in the workspace. So that's going to shift dramatically. And then this, what you said, just really flared up my hair on my back of my neck. And we do not need to go into this government intervention. Now, I used to be very pissed off about this whole situation. And then I really got really mad when a friend of mine sent me California, LA's extension to 2023 of their evictions. And I was like, oh no. But when this was something that, no, I read this in an article that a local investor gave me this article about California just extended to 2023. Okay, so I was like, this thread I'm in with these guys, I was pissed off. So I actually called the landlord in LA and I was like, hey, what's going on here? Is this for real? Because I thought this was fake news at first, but it got me, right? I believed it. This is incredible. New York is terrible. But then he told me on the phone, I was just awesome. He's like, hey, man, it's happening. But he says, I'm getting these giant checks from the state of California. They're paying for it. And I'm like, a bankrupt state is paying for all of this evictions, right? I don't know where this is happening and how this is going. So it's not really hurting us, right? I mean, we're going to make this money. So I am nervous about residential in general, because if they can tell me what to do with my, property, but the laws are totally different in the government and commercial. There is no grace in commercial. You sign a lease, you move out, you're going to pay that lease. You're going to go be bankrupt. Okay, that's the biggest weakness of commercial and I see this in the oil, because I have, looking at oil tenants, they'll sign this amazing lease. It's a triple net lease and you're excited, but they could just claim bankruptcy, right? I mean, they have very good attorneys, but the average mom and pop commercial guy that owns a restaurant, you can put their balls to the wall and they're going to pay this lease. They're not going to walk away. The deadbeat tenants that we're used to, they sign a year lease and they leave 3 months later, and you can't sue them for that other 9 months. You're just starting all over again. So those are to answer those great points that you mentioned. So you're getting into commercial. My first thing is, you're my friend. I definitely think that way. I think the quick thing that I would tell you, it is a complete mind shift. It is totally different. You can't think the same. I think a lot of people lie, I'm in residential forever, and then now I'm in apartments, and now I'm into this. It's not a progression. It's being a doctor versus a dentist. Yeah, they're both prestigious, but the doctor has nothing to do. He knows all the blood and all that other shit, but the dentist knows everything about canals. They're two different scenarios,
Sure.
but they're all medical, right? They're
Right.
all under
Right.
this umbrella called real estate, right? Yeah, I'm the savvy landlord. Whoopee woo! In this commercial world, I'm zero. It's awesome. Like, I toured these properties yesterday, and everyone's different. Every broker in my mind is like got this big balls. And I always, how long you been in commercial? This dude yesterday said 6 years, 4 years as a mentor, as an apprentice, 2 years or as an agent. It is there is so much learning curve, nuances. It's not for the faint at heart, and it's not easy. And so I try to tell people, you must be intentional about what you're going. And when you start losing money, which I have, I mean, we could talk about whatever. I'm going to be done with this here in a second. We can talk about every aspect you want to talk about, but when you genuinely lose $20,000, and you'll never get it back because you bought the wrong commercial property and went through the due diligence. That was just a due diligence cost.
Right.
It just changes your mindset. And so over here in the single family world, we don't really lose. We make it up over time, appreciation. We can write off these. I mean, you can write off that $20,000 loss. I can, but so that's in a nutshell. I think it's awesome. I think it is a natural progression of understanding, but it is a complete reboot. You're a Microsoft, computer tech guy. I mean, it's going from Linux to Chrome, which is a knockoff of Linux with a different skin, to a completely OS like Macintosh. And so it's like Windows and Macintosh, it's single family. There's nothing the same. Like, here's some quick things. One, closing is so much more sexier and fun on commercial. It's a one-page document. There's not that much federal regulation in commercial, just so you know.
Right.
It's the Wild West. There is no one protects you in commercial. There's no, I made a mistake. Here's an addendum. I could sue you because of the sewer line. You lied to me and said that this. No, you're screwed. It's like, if you don't do your due diligence, if you don't get a camera down that sewer line and pay $500 for some guy to come out there and say it's good or bad, buyer beware.
Right.
So we can go on whatever. I mean, there's so many tangents I can take you on. I'm just so thankful that you asked me these questions. I get inquiries. I get people that are really serious about commercial, and I'm not the authority. I feel the smallest dude on the planet.
Yeah.
But it's been an interesting ride. So what do you want to know? What do you want to know?
So are you guys, so what are you primarily in commercial? What are you doing? Commercial and industrial, like, are you doing warehousing? Or are you doing storefronts? What are you doing?
Okay, my sweet spot is 500,000 to $1 million. I like warehouses. I like retail, flex space. I did a stint in developing, which was a disaster. I was going to build flex space. That I was going to build tiny homes. That was a disaster. These little nuances, but I will buy anything that makes sense. So the prices are just super inflated in apartments. You know this. You obviously look at this stuff. Mobile homes are just stupid. That used to be the sleeping giant. Those are dumb. These people from out of state are just overpaying. So this little niche that I kind of ride in is like 3,000 square foot, 5,000 square foot, 10,000 square foot office. I mean, I'll get to offices in a second. Into warehouses, and in my mind, Dave Torres is doing 50,000 square foot warehouses. I toured a 70,000, $6 million facility yesterday. These are just I can't even wrap my mind around holding costs. Okay. And again, that's another thing we need to talk about, but in my mind, I'm doing to someone that's a single family that just bought an $80,000 house. They think I'm big doing $1 million deal. This $1 million deal is like a base hit. Small. So let me give you some quick ones that I've just done. I did a liquor store, 1,400 square foot. It's in the middle of a pad site, in the middle of an awesome strip center. Smoking deal. It's a triple net lease. They wanted 160. It's probably worth. My appraisal came back at 225. These are small numbers, man. I have a triple net lease. I get $1,500 a month from the tenant. It's a liquor store. They've been a liquor store for 7 years. I swooped in. They were pissed off that I bought it. They wanted to buy it. I don't know why you didn't buy it. You're dumb. I bought it. You want to buy it from me? Here's the appraisal. They're balked at me. I'm like, hey, pay me $1,500 a month. They pay taxes. So they pay about $1,900 a month. And they're making money. They're right by there's a Taco Bell, a couple blocks, a couple of spaces away. It's a huge strip center, and I have this small liquor store in the middle of this thing. Awesome, home run in my mind. I never talked to the lady again. Those 2 years ago, never see her, never talk to her. They do the maintenance, they do the AC. Every once in a while, my insurance did an inspection, and they called me, and they were mad that someone tagged the building. Just to tell you what kind of area it's in. Like someone spray painted it. And like I just emailed the tenant and said, hey, you got to take care of this graffiti and send me pictures. And this property is about an hour and a half away from me. It's in a very small town. So it's I didn't know what I was doing. That's to me, those are the ones I want to buy 100 of those. I mean, I look at it like this, and this is where you can understand. And of course, commercial people don't think like this. So what I'm about to teach you is not how you should do it. But I'm like, I'm making $1,500 a month. Woo! How many rental properties is $1,500 a month? How many?
Right.
And you got to think of it like that, right? Now, in the real commercial world, this is a joke, right? They're like, this guy that sold it to me, he had 26 chicken expresses, each $1 million each. This was charity. This was like his buying his ream of paper. He's just like, when I was negotiating with him, it was tedious and irritating, but he was probably laughing the whole time. So that's one. My favorite one. Yeah.
I was gonna say, well, you bought it for like, what'd you say, 165?
It was listed for 165. I bought it for 145, and then come to find out, it was in a flood zone, and it's not the best desirable area. But I couldn't get a loan on it because I'd have to pay double insurance. So I just took the risk because I was trying to get into the game, and my broker at the time, which is a phenomenal guy, still my broker. And this is another topic, brokers. But the thing is, he I didn't balk. I didn't really retrade. You don't really retrade in commercial. You don't want to go back and say good news and bad news. You don't want to. You have a stature, you have a position, you have posture. And when it came in the flood zone, when I ordered the money from the bank, they're like, "Yeah, it's in a flood zone. What are you gonna do?" I'm like, "I'm just gonna pay cash." And I just did the numbers, and I was like, "Okay, I can. What's the worst thing that happened if it flooded? 2 feet of drywall, 4 feet of drywall I got to replace." So I just put $10,000 in the bank and say, "There's my insurance." Instead of paying, my insurance on that property is probably about $3,000 or $4,000 a year. I don't know. They pay $300 a month. Hold on. Let me tell you exactly. Because it's triple net lease. See, this is the great thing. As a triple net lease, you just don't. When the insurance goes up, I just send them the bill. It's awesome. When the taxes go up, I just send them the bill. Now I escrow it for them. But they, this month it's $383. When the tax comes out, like right now, the taxes are coming out, their payment's $300 or $350. And then they have to make a conscious decision.
Right.
Do I want to, and they're vested. They're a liquor store that's very successful. This is the power of commercial. If you can get to this point. Now, this is my only triple net lease that I have. Now I have office space, which is 11,000 square foot monster of 3 stories of death. It was not the easiest, but I just now released the whole machine out, and it is a cash machine. And then I have several warehouses, and then I just bought a 4,000 square foot single story brick. It's terrible for me to say it this way, but it's right now it's a church, but it really wasn't. It was a doctor's office, a law office kind of situation. But then over time, they gutted it out and became a small micro church. But it's on. The greatest thing about commercial, it's got to be location, location, location. So these rules: cap rate, cap rate, cap rate. These rules you just need to memorize. But it's 20,000 cars drive by it every day. It's a small 4,000 square foot brick. This is how this is going to go down. I bought it for $265. The appraisal came in at $515. I did no money down. I have an acquisition bank that loaned me $400,000. So I walked away at closing with $137,000. Closed this bad boy. I called my broker. I got this deal from another residential realtor that's just trying to get into commercial. He gives me the deal. I close it within 3 weeks. I pop it. I call my commercial broker. He puts a sign on next day. As soon as I close at 11 o'clock. An hour later, I hand the keys over to the broker, to the commercial side. He puts a sign out front. He's got 2 dispensaries looking at it and 1 restaurant. It's going to be a triple net lease. It's going to be $4,000 a month. And I'm done. And it needs rehab. I'm gonna put the $137,000 in the bank, use it as holding costs, use it as emergency fund. So it's just a different level game. Now, if I don't rent it in 3 to 6 months, I'll have some holding costs, which is what's my payment on $400,000, $2,500 a month. My holding costs are $3,000 a month on this property. So you got to think it's a different net game. I got $3,000 a month building sitting, hanging out. And after 3 months, if I don't get traction, I may lower the rent down to 3,500. I'm going to go after a triple net lease. If I can't get a triple net lease, then I'll do a build to suit. Then I'll take that 137, really apply it. I'll probably gut the thing out, redo some things, 100,000. I ran into some snags, and then do $12 a square foot. So in the commercial world, everything is by square foot. I don't know if you also are a realtor too. So you sell on square foot, you know what I'm saying? Like this is $80 a square foot, $60 a square foot, you know. The commercial world operates by square foot.
Yeah. Well, so I'll give you, so my recent foray into commercial. So a year ago, I bought it's about a 3,000 square foot, 1900s bank, right? It's in a heavy commercial area, but it's probably what we classify as like a C or a D area. So it's a pretty rough neighborhood. But this is in with a lot of other commercial properties. So I bought this property for 35,000. And it has about a 10,000 square foot lot. And anyways, long story short, I bought this property. I paid 35 for it. It needed, the guy who owned it before me was a hoarder, so he just had a ton of, he was a real estate investor at some point in time because he just had a ton of real estate, you know, like windows and doors, but the roof had literally caved in. So anyway, so I got another $50,000 into it. I gutted it out, threw everything away, put a brand new steel roof on it, 40-year steel roof on it. I ended up making a mistake. The water had been turned off and disconnected 12 years ago. So that cost me about $8,000 to get the water back to the property. But you know, there's no plumbing in it anymore. So just where it comes out of the wall from the supply line from the street is just, it's got a shutoff valve. And then I put in a 200 amp service. There's no heat in it yet, nothing. So it's just gutted to the brick walls. And then I put a new steel roof on it, and then I ran electrical, and I just got plumbing hooked up to it. So I don't even know if the sewers work or anything like that. So I got about 85,000 into it.
So far?
Yeah, so far.
So what's the ARV? What's the value of the property? If it was pimped out, all legit, and somebody out of state wanted to buy it, what would be the price?
So I have, so I was originally going to do self-storage there because I got a big lot, and I could probably put like, I think I originally planned on doing 30 of the storage containers, the 40 footers, or the 20 footers, and then splitting them up. Anyways, long story short, I couldn't get zoning for that. I would been misled by the city planner. He just wasn't paying attention to what I was telling him in my emails. And after 4 months, he finally came back and said, no, you can't do self-storage there. So I ended up listing the property just on a fluke on a Wednesday night phone call that I do with some friends of mine. And I listed it on Facebook Marketplace for $150. And I would seller finance it. And so I've had multiple people that are really interested. This week, I had a guy who, he looked at it twice last week, and then he sent me a message that he definitely wants to do it. So I'm going to seller finance this deal for him. Because I really don't have, I mean, I was in love with doing the commercial project on this one, but I like the sexiness, like you're saying, about buying these commercial properties and renting them out by the square foot. Because I think in this case, if I rented it, so my big problem is this property is functionally obsolete, so I can't put garage doors on it. So you can't really use it for warehouse space. And then that's where I would make a lot more money, because I could get $2.50 a square foot for just a warehouse.
Okay, so I'm going to be gentle because I like you. I could see
go
where
ahead, be brutal.
I could
Tell
see
me where I made wrong.
You know where you went wrong?
What?
What's the highest and best use of the property? You randomly made these random decisions. You need to hire a consultant or have better friends that are going to say, you need to cut this up and make a restaurant. Oh, then you run a feasibility study on that. Or you need to do this, or then you would have found the water problem. Then you would have found the HVAC problem. Then you would have found all these scenarios, because then you would just be playing scenarios out. This is the problem with commercial. So this is great. So I've done the same problems. I bought this deal. It's a great deal. You can't go wrong. 35,000. I'm savvy.
Right.
But I know you're gonna do well. You didn't answer my question. What's the ARV? So here's some things I can help you with. Number one, from this day forward, what's the highest and best use? You need to apply that to your personal life. What's the highest? What am I? So this is how I got it. I bought this land. I got this. This is a true story. I got a smoking deal on this land for 75,000, and there's a big. This could be a 5-hour podcast. It's a long 6-month ordeal and a lot of work, but I got it. It sounds great. 75,000. The appraisal came in at 500. Wow, savvy. I'm gonna win. When I went through 3 contractors and through everything, I realized I'm not a builder. Hey, I'm not a developer, but I wanted to be sexy. I told everybody I own this land. I'm gonna be cool. Dude, I'm out. It's for sale. So but here's the point. What's the highest and best use of Steve VanCauwenbergh's time? What makes me sexy? Why do people like me? What am I good at? Even Dave Torres, we hung out all week last week. He's like, he doesn't believe me that I do no money down deals. After 10 HUDs, well, he stopped me at 2. I was like, bro, I'll tell you, my last 10 deals have been, he didn't believe me. And I just kept showing him, that's what I'm good at. That's my gift. Is it building and dealing with a contractor that was charging me $1.5 million to build a 5,000 square foot building? Or, finding no money down deals? What's going to be my biggest pay? So I called my mentor and I was like, yo, I got this land. He's like, how much do you think you're going to make? I said, if I build this building and I rent it out, or I sell this building, I think I'm going to make 75,000. And if I do this whole development, I might make 300,000. It's just so small now. All the risk, all the liability, all the time, all the energy. How many meetings have I been in? How many 6 months of my life? And so now, when you start talking highest and best, what's the highest and best use of your time? What's the highest, best and use? So what I'm doing now, so I just threw that sign up there on that land. The city's pissed off. They sold me that land. It's a long story. They're mad at me. They hate my guts. We basically gave you this land and you're going to throw a sign out there. He didn't say that. He emailed me yesterday, 2 days ago. So you gave up. That's his freaking email. You gave up. He goes, you gave up. I said, I replied to this awesome fan of mine. Now he's a friend. And I said, sir, I go, after 3 contractors and a lot of pain, this is not my skill set. I am looking for a partner. If you know anyone, or if you have any ideas, please. I was going to say we have the money. I'm not even going to say that. I'm like, I'm looking for a partner. And if he does not, I'm curious to see how he responds. This 2 days ago. This is a city employee that sold me the land, which is, they probably are a little butthurt because I got a smoking deal because they thought I was going to build a building, and I want to build a building. But when 3 contractors burned me, and I was going to spend $1 million to get $4,000 a month rent, it doesn't. And I take the risk, and it's just that's why commercials is not advantageous for everybody. Now I have developer friends, and they love it. Oh man, I'm going to sit on this land for 3 years, and I'm going to have $60,000 in holding costs that they borrowed from somebody else that they're paying interest only on. Like, I just don't think I got to make money today. I am an investor. I have a family. If I don't win, I lose. So that's the thing that I learned. It took me about a year. I've been in commercial. Well, I've been in commercial for 10 years, but fakely, like you, kind of playing. But like, I've been in commercial for about 2-3 years now. That's the number one lesson. It took me 12 months to learn. What's the highest and best use of this? And when you hang around real commercial people, they say stuff like, they thought about scraping the building. What's the land worth? So that deal I just bought for 265, the land is worth 500. So when I did my highest and best, when I talked to 10 successful commercial brokers, 10 successful commercial investors, I got some great highest and best. One guy said, why don't you build up? Because I'm kind of landlocked because there's a bunch of other office buildings around me. And I was like, that's ingenious. For 200,000, I can turn that building into $1 million. So for $500,000 in cash, I can make that $1 million. So I'm still in it at 50 cents a dollar. I bought it at 50 cents a dollar. I'm going to try to rent it at 50 cents a dollar. I mean, I'm trying to rent it for this huge 18% return and never touch it again and turn it into a triple net lease. That's what I'm trying to do. But I also have 3 plans. What's the highest and best? Another one was scrape it. Another one, build on top. My idea was so minuscule and stupid. Hey, I'm going to get a tattoo guy in here. This is easy. I'm gonna get a tattoo guy in here. I'm gonna get a free tattoo. I mean, this is how uneducated I am. I'm going to get a tattoo guy in here. I'm gonna get a free tattoo. I got a referral from an awesome friend of mine. She's like, hey, this guy's looking for a place. This is like my RC car store. I'll find him a location. Boom, it just worked out. The guy just blew me off and took a very cheap place in the ghetto. And so then I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm gonna hire professionals. I'm gonna hire this broker. I'm going to pay him $10,000 for this lease for his time. Cheap people. I'm actually writing a podcast this morning. Stop being cheap. Start hiring professionals. Hire a broker commercial guy. I can lease this out. This is 20,000 cars, bro. I saw his sign there. I gave him the key. Torres was with me. I don't even want to go inside the building anymore. It's a triple net lease. Let them figure it out. I don't want to be tearing walls out. I don't want to be. If I had that tattoo, if that tattoo guy signed with me, I'd be putting in plumbing. I would be screwing off with 1980 drain lines. I would be dealing with permits. No, triple net lease, they get an architect. They get permits. They put the money up. They just pay me $4,000 a month to give them the keys. Oh, they're going to change the keys? No big deal. It is a different mindset. As I said in the beginning, number 1, mindset. Number 2, highest and best set. You're in this property good. 85,000. Exactly what you said is when I called my mentor on my land. Hey man, I'm dying. I got 3 contractors burn me. This ain't going well. I'm not educated. He's like, owner finance it. What, can you find, he gave me some awesome questions. He's like, can you replace this land? Can you buy this land somewhere else? And I'm like, not really, not for this price. But what he's like, Steven, what's your ROI? What are you really going to make? And I'm like, man, I'm going to have a 5,000 square foot building with marijuana in it, or a small mom and pop business that could fail any minute, and I got $500,000 cash. And I mean, it's just not, I could do no money down deals over here. Now I can't do no money down deals because the market's terrible in real estate. What's up 30%? But I know this is my 3rd cycle. I know in 3 to 5, 10 years, this stuff's going to collapse. And why this is collapsing, I'm going to be little baby commercial guy over here playing around. And then 10 years from now, when I go to the Ohio RIA and we have a cocktail and be friends, and you're like, yeah, you have 20 million in commercial, and how much do you have in residential? 1. And that's why I walk Dave Torres through my finances. I go, I am recycling my portfolio. I would like that to be flip-flopped. I want this much in commercial. I like residential because I have a great team in Symbol, but this is where I'm going. And so I set a goal this year. I'm going to buy $2 million in assets. How am I going to do that? I have no idea, but here I am with a $500,000 commercial property. I only need to do 4 deals. If I had to buy that, I had to do 10 single family deals. Now, look, that's the power of commercial. The scalability is just insane. And my goal is not to be wealth. I mean, I just want to be free. I'm done. This is just fun. Like, I'm not trying to be Dave Torres. He's gonna listen to this podcast. He's gonna rip me. I'm not trying to be, he has eclipsed. He is almost up there with me. I've been coaching him for so long. He has doubled his net worth in 1 year. It took him, 4 years. 2015, I think he's when he bought his first deal. So 6 years, it's taken him 5 years to get to, and he doubled his net worth in 1 year in commercial. But he's super smarter than me, man. I mean, he's basically coaching me now on commercial. Like the other day, he says, yeah, TI. I'm like, what the hell is TI? Tenant improvements package? I'm like, savvy landlord over here, the savvy ghetto dude. Like, we toured 4 properties yesterday, and I didn't want to do it. He sets this up with my broker. he says, I'm like, I'm not buying $3 million deals. I'm telling my wife, I mean, we're not buying $3 million deals. I don't want to have this holding cost, and I don't want to have diarrhea. And Dave flies in. He's like, "You gonna come tomorrow to the property tour?" And I'm like, "I want to ride my mountain bike. I don't want to be, And I looked up my schedule. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go." And it was awesome. It was epic. I learned the first thing out of the dude's mouth was, "What's your TI package?" And I was like, I'm texting him while he's talking to the dude. Like, what's TI? I'm thinking insurance. I'm thinking taxes, insurance, PITI, residential, ignorance.
Yeah.
I could be. No, he's like, tenant package. You offer these tenant packages to these credit tenants. What's a credit tenant? What's a national tenant? I'm telling you, man, it's worth it. But I'm just gonna take the slow train. Like, Dave wants to be big, and I'm cheering him on, and he's going to be. He's a phenomenal. His deals are just like, he has a tenant, and I could say this, a solar satellite tenant. They make solar panels for satellite dishes. Do you think that's going to last for a while? I mean, I think there's a demand for satellites. Verizon, T-Mobile, Elon Musk, the government,
Right.
Russia, Ukraine. I bet you they would love to have a new satellite up there right now. One of them would like to have. They wish they would have threw 3 more satellites up there. So when he was asking me this tenant, and I don't want to get into his details, but I was like, I'd go with the solar guy. Well, they want 10 years, and they're going to put 500 into your building, and it's a triple net lease with CAM, and or you can go this other traditional one that wants a buyer's clause in there, which it's only a 5-year lease with a right of refusal buyer clause. Yeah, but they'll double that. Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to pull permits anymore. I don't, and I can't wait to see what he decides. I mean, it's cool. And he, not my advice is always the best advice. I told him not to buy a office building when during COVID, I was dying and had diarrhea. He presented a office space to me, and I was like, bro, and he slapped me this week. He said, I should have bought that. Like, but it's his responsibility. So that's just the name of the game, right? I mean, you got to do what's the highest and best, and not the savvy landlord is the best advice. So what I'm telling you today is just out of love and pain. And I hope that, but you should do it, man. You're educated. You know how to raise private money. You're a good the property management's so much easier. But this building without a bathroom, that's the problem with this. I was about to buy this property yesterday. There's only one out of the 4. I was going to buy this one, and when I walked in there, they have this bone. They were selling it for 1.4 million. It was it's a phenomenal deal, but it's really worth 600 to 800 because the square footage is worth 1.4 million. This is where commercial can sting you. The price 1.4 married up to the square footage, but the square footage was 3,000 square foot on the second floor with no bathroom, with steps, and the city required him to have a lift, not an elevator. I mean, this guy, the owner, was very savvy. It was like a 10,000 square, or like a huge building. They cut the building in half. This is the power of commercial. They cut the building in half and made 2 separate buildings. I mean, they literally ripped out the middle of the building. It was a giant barn, so they wouldn't have to sprinkle it. Smart, okay. But then it just wasn't functional. Like, it was basically 3,000, 6,000 square foot. That who wants to go up steps to store, and who wants to go upstairs to have an office without a bathroom? You're going to walk downstairs to go to the bathroom in the warehouse space. So the commercial's fun. If I was coaching you today, I would say, okay, Lee, every day get on LoopNet, every day get on CoStar, every day you're a realtor, start building broker relationships. And I'm teaching this class right now. We're started January 1st. It's supposed to be 10 weeks, but now we're we're at the end of March now. And I mean, each 2-hour session is, one of them is on, 1 hour was just on highest and best. 2 hours was just on how to connect with a broker. Why would they call you back? You have no net worth. You don't know what the hell you're doing. So, there's a lot of hurdles in the commercial game, and it's not for the faint of heart. Can you do it? Absolutely. Anyone can do it. I mean, it's fun. It's cool. It's like traveling, you go, people from Oklahoma, nobody's from Oklahoma here. Everybody's from somewhere else. This is commercial real estate. Where'd you come from? Well, I got an MBA in finance, so I'm going to be in commercial real estate. Or you got Ghetto Steven. Yeah, I was in residential for 20 years, and now I'm in commercial.
Right.
So everyone's journey in commercial is different. And so some people really are just leasing agents. And I can spend 10 hours on just the commercial people. Like I figured out there's commercial RIAs.
Oh, is there really?
Oh yeah.
I need to pick your brain and find some training or some mentors or something like that in the commercial space.
There's really not. That's the problem. I think there's institutional commercial real estate. There's colleges that teach it. So they're out there. There's not too many like gurus. There's a few, but their content's weak. I bought their courses just because I'm doing a class right now with 8 guys for 10 weeks, and they're all single family dudes that are my close knit friends, and they really wanna to do this. And I'm like, guys, I'm the least guy to teach you this. And I have a lot of commercial property, but I feel like I'm the youngest dude. But the keys that I have found is the broker is everything. Of course I love banking, and I've got that on lockdown. But there's different commercial banking. But I'll ask these guys. We've recorded all these sessions, so we've done 10 2-hour sessions, and then I had every Wednesday I had 10 speakers. So and then we did this property tour, and then we did a bunch of bonus stuff, and then because some guys are just on apartments, some guys are just on industrial, some guys are just trying to figure it out. Some guy just is trying to buy a grocery store right now. And there's a Chinese food place in there, in a medical. And so yesterday, Dave and I and this other dude, we're like going over the plans, and he's scared. He's got 2 tenants that can cover his mortgage, but he needs. So I asked this question to him. I'm like, bro, if you had $3 million in cash, would you do these repairs? He had like $1 million in repairs. It probably, he was trying to buy this building for 1.5. It was like 30,000 square foot. It had a grocery store in there. It has 2 tenants in there. He had 18,000 square foot left. I don't know what this grocery store, and these are all just rough numbers. And, would you put the facade on and do the parking lot and spend 1.5 million? If you had $3 million, would you, and you would yield 6 million, and, it's so easy. You could syndicate this. I mean, you can raise that 3 million, but see, he's so used to single family doing $150,000 house that $3 million is death. But I know I'm making it sound so easy. It's taken me 3 years just to believe what I just told you. Like right, it's a mindset. That would be number 3. So number 1 would be, what was number 1? Damn, highest and best.
Right, highest and best.
Mindset is number 1.
Yeah.
Highest and best, and number 3 is the broker and the belief. Those are the areas I'd master first. If you got to get over this mindset first, you got to look in the mirror every day. I'm a commercial guy. Number 2, you got to really analyze property and know what's another avenue, or get a consultant that you can hire, and you're used to paying $500 to I'm telling you, you got to pay $500,000 to just tell someone to tell me what to do.
Right.
Or draw me up. Some of these people are called drafters. You got to get used to hiring drafters. You got to get used to hiring architects. You got to get used to hiring civil engineers. You got to get used to, because the highest and best may have to put a bathroom in there. And so you're going to have to hire a drafter first, then you're going to have to hire an architect second, and then you're going to have to hire a civil engineer to make sure.
So are you hiring those guys? Like,
yeah.
So like I talked to, like on this bank property of mine, I talked to 2 different commercial realtors and said, basically like what you said, give me the highest and best on it. And
That's use, not price. Use.
Right. That's what I
Okay.
meant.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. And so, I mean, they both came up with stuff that, I didn't pay for it. So I guess here's my question to you. If you're not necessarily always just looking in Oklahoma, are you? Or are you looking only primarily in your backyard?
I will buy anything anywhere if it makes sense. I'm not looking,
Okay. So then the next question is, so if you're going to hire the commercial real estate guy to give you the highest and best use, are you looking for somebody in that market, or are you looking for,
so
you got one guy here in
hold on, let's
Oklahoma.
define this. Hold on. The broker, the person I'm working with is not the person that's going to give me highest and best. It's a consultant.
Right. That's
So
okay. I understand.
Okay. So I might have 10 brokers or 10 realtors, whatever, give me suggestions.
Right.
But after I kind of zero down, then I'm going to spend $500 for a consultant to run the traffic count, to work my idea, to do the research, a feasibility study. So like, here's one of my guys is in storage units, right? So I think we spent $7,000 or $12,000 for plans, feasibility. They drove up there, they did all the due diligence for us, and I think it was 7,000. I can't remember. I can find out for you, but that's what I'm talking about. Like you've exhausted scraping it. I'm actually trying to do this, and I'm just so busy. But I want to write out a feasibility on the highest and best checklist. Like that's how psycho I'm getting. Right. Okay, should I scrape it? Okay, should I do a doctor, a lawyer? Should I? So I'm going to create my own course. Yeah, I'm trying to write a course actually. So these guys, these 8 guys, some people, are all my test dummies, and I realized it's 3 months this class, and I'm tired, and I'm like, I only charge $2,500. This is too cheap. Like, if I ever do this again, it's going to be this. But I want to have, like, I don't have anything to give them. Yeah, we have plans and we have stuff that they see and they give them, but I really want to, have a checklist, because every property, every contractor, every broker is so different. It's not like the single family. It's so easy and it's a joke. Okay, we're going to use gray paint. We're going to use this flooring. It's SKU number 443.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So we're going to do 10 houses this month. Okay. So let's order a container. You know what I'm saying? That's the hardest thing we got to figure out. Like I'm talking to a drywall dude yesterday, and he's building these massive, this guy is insane what he's doing. And I'm like, where are you getting your drywall? Because when I do anything, I do like 5 or more units at a time. I use builder quality contractors, like suppliers, ABC Supply, H&B, these bigger companies. And he's like, I'm buying everything. I'm getting 6 cents cheaper on my drywall, and I'm ordering thousands of sheets of drywall, and I'm getting Lowe's is cheaper. I'm like, what? You're using Lowe's? Where'd you get these? We have these commercial grade, this guy's got it dialed in. Everything is different. There's nothing, it's not the same. We know we all use landlord locks, right? Me and you, I don't know if you use those anymore, but
no. Dave
brought that up the other day. I forgot about landlord locks, like commercial locks. I just replaced, they're $500 a piece. Like, they're mechanical on my apartment building. Like we had this is the difference between a residential property manager and a commercial property manager. Here's my problem. My residential property manager is managing my commercial property, and she's like, Steven, we keep breaking these locks. Well, we got 60 people a day going through this property. It's a commercial property. We need commercial locks. This is the ignorance. This is where you're going to have a problem, morphing into a commercial. And I was like, listen, property manager, we need a commercial lock. She had no idea where to buy one. And she's just shit her pants that it was $400. And then you can't hire a handyman to put it in. You got to hire a commercial handyman that knows how to put in a commercial lock. But here's the thing. This $400 lock compared to the digital, we don't have to change batteries. This is mechanical. This lock weighs 10 pounds. This lock weighs The residential lock weighs a quarter of a pound. You see what I'm saying? It's this. We're never going to change this lock again on the face of the earth.
Right.
And changing the lock, changing the code is like you got to have a degree.
Right.
So it's just this is where people like and I the more I think about this, the more I talk to you. This is a great conversation for me because this creates a bigger gap because it's just like do you really want to learn do you really want to it's just the money gap a 400 I was that guy no how many Amazon locks that I changed on that property and she never told me each lock that is residential on that property is $50 a lock. How many locks did we change? I never knew. And then
and you got to pay somebody to change them out.
Yeah, and they're
so it's not a $50 lock; it's now $100.
So at least $300. At least I know for sure. At least we changed it twice, and I just randomly caught her complaining about, hey, Walnut Apartments lock is broken again. Again, like I'm not in these meetings anymore. This is just not. I don't do those. I'm not in. If you even talk to me about residential, I get nervous. Like that's why I don't go to that's why I want to see you in Ohio. But when I sit down. And unless I'm speaking up there, and I love Vina and I love you guys, but I'm like, where's this going? I'm not going to meet a commercial broker. I'm not going to meet a commercial lender. Right. I'm for sure not going to, what are we going to talk about? Well, yeah, I got another bad tenant. Okay, whoopee woo. Or, well, I'm going to maximize the HSA account. This shit's already needs to learn. You need to learn this stuff way before we can get into this. And these people, you talk ignorant to these people, you will get not blackballed. They will not call you back. And even my super successful broker, we had lunch yesterday. This dude's a baller. Dave Torres was so impressed with my broker. Dave was so giddy. And my broker was saying, I have called this credit tenant for 2 years and I have not got a call back. And my broker is a baller. And he is a baller. We're talking probably $1 billion in transactions. And we're talking huge developments. We're talking Chick-fil-A. We're talking strip malls. We're talking Walmart. We're talking, this guy's not a little dude. And he can't get a call back on a bank. I don't remember what the hell he was telling me, but he's like, I've been waiting 2 years. I've called these people for 2 years. This is the perfect location for your new blank. And they won't even call his ass back. I'm like, wow. Okay, so I'm not mad that people don't call me back. I'm not mad that when I'm at these commercial real estate RIAs and I have jeans on and these guys got suits on, and I feel like I have to go buy a suit, man. The savvy landlord. My dream was when I got to become a millionaire, I was going to be tattooed. I was going to be sleeved. That was how ignorant I was. Now I regret.
Well, whatever. I'm hitting your sweatshirt, hoodie that I live in, die in, whatever. I go to a trainer 3 times a week and my trainer's like, I show up in shorts. It's like 10 degrees outside, 8 degrees or whatever. And she's like, why are you still wearing shorts? I'm like, all I own is jeans and shorts. That's it. You got no sweatpants or none of that sort of stuff.
I know, man. It's just, and that's been one of my hardest. And I have some of these guys in my group, man. I tell them over and over, and I feel like a nagging mother. Like I dressed up yesterday. I met 6 brokers yesterday. One guy was in a sweatshirt. What did he feel? This guy, you think he's going to talk to him? This guy, we're talking about a $6 million, 70,000 square foot building, and you got a sweatshirt on that says "I buy houses." Come on, dude. That's not going to work, man. It's just not going to work. Like they're not. Who cares that you have 100 rental properties? Like you think I'm big because I'm worth X amount? That they don't give a shit. Right. Are you gonna fund this deal? Are you gonna use the highest and best use? Are you gonna get a 10? I have to dress up. I don't even know where to buy a suit. Like I'm not joking. Like I'm like, okay, Men's Warehouse. I don't trust those people, but I used to have a kind of a guy that used to buy suits. My banker, he's so rich. He's like, yeah, just go to Ooley's. I'm like, Ooley's. I call there. It's like $1,200 just for the slacks. I'm
with you.
Yeah, I want the $300 suit, and I think that's too high. But it's not 300. It's like you got to get it fitted. Oh, that's another 100. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. And so I have a commercial thing coming up. It's an all-day class, you know, and it's so cheap now. When I see things are so cheap, and I know when I classify people, when I tell them I go to Orange Theory, and they're like, "You pay $160 a month," and people are like, "For a gym?" And I get it, right? I used to be that person. Then I look at it. This is what commercial people think. 10 years from now, would you pay $16,000 to be sexy? Absolutely.
Right.
So $160 a month for me to look at me, look at my body. It's Orange Theory. I look sexy because of $160. So you go pay your $10 a month and be fat. And you think you roll your ass into a gym and you think you're doing something and you can't be motivated because no one's screaming at you because you can't think you can afford it. You have to afford it.
Right.
I have to pony up. I have to tell myself, okay, I'm not at that level right now. Dave Torres can have $1 million in holding costs, and it's no big deal to him. And he raises enough money to, and this is what I learned. I remember building this blunt project. I'm working on the senior living, and we have a 2-year holding cost. Like, bro, that's in our financials, bro. A 2-year holding cost. It's going to take us 1.5 years to lease this out. We how much? $60,000 a month holding costs. I mean, this is how they think. They think 2 years from now. They think 3 years from now. So if you're thinking a month for $160 for your gym, I'm thinking 10 years from now, when I'm 50, 60, I can get up out of my chair and I can still wear a size 32, 34, 36 pants. Right. That's what's $160 for me. So $1,600 a year. Divided by 10 years, $16,000. I mean, I still run with my kids. I still mountain bike, right? But I mean, I don't look at this. That's why that's the number one thing I wrote down is mindset. Man, I'm telling you, when you pay $500 for a drafter and he's drawing you plans, this is a cheap drafter. This is like a concept drafter. There's 5 levels of drafters. So let me just tell you, man, there's 5 levels of these people. This is just some chick in a room that's doing it on the side. And it's not Fiverr. It's just, they're like, okay, hey, I want to do a bike park. And she's laying out bike parks. And then we change the plan. It's like the bike park is not the best use. And that's where I got hammered. And that's why that's number 2, the highest and best. The bike park people don't pay to ride bikes. Stephen F. and VanCauwenbergh did not do a feasibility study and realize that mountain bike people, they're cheap. They'll spend $10,000 on their mountain bike, but they're not going to spend $5 to ride your little park, dude. You're stupid. And I lost thousands of dollars because I didn't have this podcast that this person that's going to listen. Someone needs to send me money. Someone needs to thank me. Someone needs to text me for this podcast because I just saved you $10,000 of my ignorance because I love mountain biking. And why I would pay $10 to ride a mountain bike to go on this amazing indoor park, with a pavilion, and I can ride my bike in the winter in the middle of Oklahoma. But no one saw that vision. No one cares that they're going to spend $10. And so then I had to build buildings, and then I realized to build buildings, and steel is outrageous, and Russia is I'm not fear, man. I'm gonna build, but it's just not the highest and best use of my time. I can get a bigger return screwing around with $500,000 buildings, which is small. Like I am crumbs. I'm crumbs. And I love hanging out with Dave Torres. And I love hanging out with these guys that think bigger. Like we tour these buildings. My mind can't even, what tenant can afford $30,000 a month? Who are you talking to? A ceramic guy that makes ceramic parts for fracking. That's that guy. And he needs a kiln that's 20 feet into the ground that has this gas supply line. Oh, okay. So that's how you're making $40,000 a month. Okay, net on a triple net lease that's next to FedEx distribution center. And your taxes are $20,000 a year. It's just awesome. And again, I'm not there, man. I'm right where you're at. I'm maybe a couple of years ahead of you. Dave Torres jumped over me. I love it. When he asked me about commercial, the exact same questions that you asked me 1.5 years ago, and I thought I was cool. And now he's just amazing. And I think that's what you need to do. take it slow. I thought my dream was to be a builder. Nope, out. I don't even want to talk to builders. I saw a builder yesterday and I just laughed. I'm like, where's your, I just laughed. I'm like, not at him, internally. Thank God I'm not him. Thank God I'm not on this job site waiting on this trim guy. Thank God I'm not on this job site worrying about HVAC. What's that, a 5-ton or a 10-ton? Where drywall is up at $2 a sheet. I'm like, I'm out. I'd rather just buy an existing, budget it in, or do a triple net lease. I just bought this existing. Let them deal with that. Let them run their number. Let that doctor get $45 a square foot to make his $12 square foot entryway look amazing.
Yeah. Well, when I bought this commercial property, original plan was to do self-storage, and then that didn't pan out. And then I ran case studies myself of like a Bitcoin farm, or a crypto farm. I ran case studies on doing a hydroponics farm in this building, because this is all stuff that could be done here. And I ran a couple other case studies, but at the end of the day, it was like, okay, but then I'm going to have another business to run. And I don't have the time or the patience to do that stuff. I am not good at administration stuff. And I think you're probably, I'll speak for you, but I think you're also kind of that way. It's like, I could create the plan and do that, or you know what I mean? But I'm not good at administrating. Once the problem is solved, I'm off to the next problem.
Me too.
Right. That was what I did when I was a Microsoft engineer, was traveling all over the country, just being a massive problem solver. But I can't do day-to-day maintenance, right? I can't do, the best thing I ever did was hire a bookkeeper to deal with all my books, because that just drives me fucking bananas, excuse my French, to do that stuff. And so that's like been the biggest blessing, is that every month I don't have to run statements and stuff like that. Now, I do have somebody who audits her, but
that's how I do it.
So, but I can't, that stuff just drives me up a freaking wall. So yeah, I'm not looking for more businesses. I'm looking for, like you said, this one was obviously a mistake, but I think I'll be all right on it. But
I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's great. I think
I learned a lot.
You're in it, right? That's what my friends tell me, because I beat myself up on this land deal. I beat myself up on this Chattanooga deal. I beat myself up on this stuff. And this is priceless information. And being dialed in and knowing exactly what you want to do. And you just said it. I don't want to own businesses, and I struggle with that. That is a sin that I have. Because this guy with the commercial with this grocery store that's in my class, and I was like, okay, buddy, do this. Open a craft mall. It's a huge space. You can get $150 a unit in there. How many units do you need? That's a business.
Right.
Right. And so all the other dudes in my class were just smashing. The other dude, Tay Torres, was smashing me. This is not the best use of your time. It's just not. But see, but that now, and that's it. I know. I don't want to mess with it. I'm not going to rehab it unless I have a superstar contractor that's 30% more than I pay now, and I'm willing to spend that, and I'm going to get an ROI on that. I'm not going to try to. I'm going to do 60 cents a square foot here, like I used to think when I did these ghetto houses at Home Depot, and they're going to be out of tile, and I'm going to get nervous. I have to go to Habitat for Humanity, and then I'm going to get the wrong tile. I'm not going to have enough. Nope, I'm going to get the $2 square foot that they have an ample amount, and I'm still going to make money on that $2 a square foot, and I'm going to hire a better contractor. Instead of 50 cents a square foot to get installed, I'm going to hire the $25 guy that has a truck, a cell phone, and he has insurance by chance.
Right.
And if he screws it up, he has enough resources, money to come back and fix it. How many times have you paid for someone that's wrong and they come back? I see that in my property management. I see that on her side. The other day, I'm like, what's up with this house? Oh, yeah, the contractor's back there. We're not paying him, right? Yeah, he's not paying. It's still inefficient. It's still time.
Right.
Wasted lot. And it's pissed off now that the shower head fell off. But I got a good contractor.
Yeah.
Do I really have a good contractor?
Right. Yeah.
All right, man, we got to wind this up because I gotta roll. But is there any other questions that you have that I could help you with? I mean, this is a great conversation. I'm sorry that I dominated the conversation.
No, you're fine. So what are you doing to find your deals right now?
I just,
are you doing any marketing at all, or?
No, I think the market's just inflated. Everybody's in where I'm in. Everybody's in commercial. Everybody's in area. I'm just the honest truth. This is the secret sauce. Relationships. It's relationships. You got to get out there. You got to hit the pavement. You got to go to their meetings. Commercial. You got to call brokers. You got to have lunches. You got to You got to connect with people. I cultivate the guy that I have right now. I mean, I spent 8 hours with him yesterday. I mean, what did I get out of that thing? I paid $100 for 5 guys worth $150 worth of lunch yesterday. What did I get out of that? Nothing. I mean, I don't know, but I'm paying it forward. And so I just budgeted in, my time and my energy. And I look every once in a while. I'm on a hunt now. I got those 2 deals done. Now every once in a while I'll look at LoopNet. Every once in a while, my main focus is personal. My main focus is health and family. So I'm not. I just set a goal for 2 million. I can't believe I acquired 650,000. I bought 2 assets so far this year. I'm pretty content. I'm like, but I would just hang out with other guys. I would hang out with other people in your market, start getting into the luncheon, start finding out who's the players, start figuring out there's guys that are starting for Grand Zero. Oh, I know someone from my old church that's a commercial broker. Perfect. I gave him my broker, all my guys in my class. They all have his phone number. They were all at lunch yesterday. They all communicated with him. They're talking to him. I'm like, when this dude showed me the plans yesterday, I'm like, bro, why didn't you show Randy these plans? Oh, I didn't have them with him. You're dumb. You need to have these plans with you. You show a realtor this broker. Is this facade going to work? What's your take? I thought the plans were beautiful, but I'm not an expert. This dude has done freaking Chick-fil-A's. I think Chick-fil-A works. Scooters Coffees, Dutch Brothers. I mean, that was a big conversation. This new thing that's coming out right now, Bobo's drinks or some stupid fancy sweet drinks. I don't know where these millennials are thinking, but of course, I'm not in that space. I'm not going to get in that space, but I can do a land lease. I'll buy the land for you, Dutch Brothers, Scooters, and them. They're not even buying the land. Some of them are, some of them are not. So that's the little things that's the things you pick up when you hang out with these people. Yeah, I'll buy a corner lot for 600,000 and lease it to them for 5 years at this rate, and they'll build their little $1 million little 800 square foot coffee shop on there. Absolutely,
right.
But these are just weird things that you just learn.
Yeah. So is that considered a TI? Is that what it is when they come out?
A tenant package? No, that's on their own. I'm just doing a land lease on that one. TIs are like, they want my 4,000 square foot building. They're willing to pay $12 a square foot, and I'm going to do 45,000 TI, which is tenant improvement package for them.
Oh, I see. So you're going to put 40,000 into it. So it's basically a build to suit or whatever.
Yeah, it's all different. Everyone's different. Everyone has their agenda. That's one thing I think people need to think about. You have an agenda of the building, but this tenant has an agenda. So what is their agenda? And you don't want to be dancing around for, this building I just acquired. He said, I got 2 dispensaries. I'm a little nervous, but I'm okay. I'm leveraged. So is my bank going to be okay with that? My bank's okay with that. I already got that understood. And if I had to buy it out with cash, could I close it with cash if it got awry? Yes. My insurance is okay. Yes. But I really want the restaurant. Now I'm kind of uncomfortable with the restaurant because now I'm going to be cutting into my ceiling, putting ventilation in for the hood. And now, if I go with that guy, so I got 2 problems, right? If I go with the cannabis people, they're gonna just smell the building out to death. Now I'm stuck. But what's my plan though? What's my plan? How much is my lot worth? Hey, I'll get a dispensary in there. I can hold on to it for 5 years. I can sell that thing for 1.2 million because inflation, if the inflation keeps going where it's going, if we get these prisons that we get going, I could buy this thing. I'm on it for 265. I got no money in it and I sell it for 800. Well, what's your ROI on that? This is the difference between commercial and residential. We want to hold on to everything. I can get it's just, and then I could 1031 that into a $6 million transaction. Dave Torres has a 1031 exchange and a reverse exchange on these commercials. Epic. He yelled at me. He's like, why don't you do 1031? I mean, bro, my 1031s they just don't work. The timing, because I'm thinking residential. If you're thinking commercial, you probably need to start mastering 1031.
Okay. All right.
These are just all these nuances. They're just time. I mean, this is a 5-year, 10-year play. 2 years from now, I was walking with these guys yesterday. I was like, I can't wait to see where I'm at in 6 months. I'm walking. I mean, I see Dave does not see what I see. I see this leaking. I see this marrying this. They cut this building. I see how it's jacked up in my mind because I know maintenance. This is going to be a maintenance nightmare. And I'm rolling with a young kid. I'm like, I can't wait to see what I look like in 6 months from now. I'm going to see what kind of knowledge I have from 6 months now. See what my language is like from 6 months. See what I look like physically. See what I look like emotionally. And that's just, you have to take this business, commercial business, in 6 month increments. is what I think. Anyway,
All right.
thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. All right, man.
Whenever you get
stuck,
stuck, whenever you get stuck again, man, we can have a whole series of Lee gets his big boy pants on and is in commercial.
Nice. Well, why don't you give me your to-do list for me? So
go to LoopNet and start analyzing deals. You find a deal, you say, is this a deal and why? And email it to me. Call that broker and see what you said wrong to him, because he's going to smash you. And then write it down. I failed when I said this. I won when I said this. Define this for me. What went wrong here? Why did he say this to me, and why I didn't know that?
Right.
You got to learn by trial and fire. Google up classes. You might find one.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter @LandlordBook and always be buying assets.